Hello, it's August 31st, and it's a SIG Node CI subgroup meeting. Welcome, everybody. Let's get started. So we have a few topics for today. First, I wanted to review action items from last meeting. We had two identified. First, we wanted to discuss whether we need node kubelet master and node kubelet conformance that Morgan brought up. And I created an issue, but I don't think anybody looked at it, so it's not moved anywhere. Morgan, do you want to talk about it? If you looked at it?
Sorry, I didn't see this until now, I guess. Sorry for missing last week. So I was basically looking at what tests run and looking at the job definition for each of those, and they seem very, very, very similar, such that they're both doing like 99% of the same work, and I'm wondering why they both exist. And so I can write down I can be more explicit, and I'll write down the differences between the two, which are very, very minimal. But I was just hoping, basically, most of the time when I bring something up, I'm just trying to hope to either have somebody else explain it to me or put it out there and see if anybody recognizes why, what the intent is behind a lot of these things, because the intent of why these tests exist is not written in a lot of places. So this is me trying to understand, and it's a public process.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Sometimes it just confusing me how everything's structured. So anybody on the call knows why this conformance and master tests are same but different? Okay, can we get somebody on the call, like maybe somebody else want to assign this issue to themselves and investigate? I think it's important for us to minimize number of tabs so we know where to look. Anybody else on the call wants to take ownership?
I'll add some more information to it and try to find somebody.
So is this to resolve this, is this pretty much just kind of like seeing what tests are actually run and just, kind of confirm whether or not they are different?
Yeah, ideally we need to have a description. If those tabs are intentionally different, we need to have a description that explains why they are different. So I would think either we resolve it and say we don't need both and we remove one of them, or we say we need both and then we just add description, maybe in form of comment, but maybe in form of actual description tag on a dashboard or a tab that will explain why we need that one and why we need this one.
Okay, this is Matt Merkith. I can make time to try to pick this up.
Okay. Do you want to just assign here, or can you do it?
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So next one is removing serial alpha tab. So once we CPU manager test was the last serial alpha test here, and not here any longer. So we can eliminate this tab completely. So I have a pull request for that, and if you have time, just review. We already have LGTM tag, so it's fine. We just need oh man, I'm sorry. When I breathe on my screen, it's touch screen, it reacts on it, so I need to breathe this way. Yeah, so there is a pull request to remove it, and we just need approve tag, and it will be resolved. Any questions about either of those two? Okay, then those are done. So now, Morgan, your agenda item.
Yeah, this is basically a long-running question I've had. The intention of, so I've gone back through the history of a lot of these jobs, back before they were even in test infra. And it seems like some of them exist implicitly, not explicitly described, to basically either test different versions of Docker and maybe different versions of Containerd and all these other lower level pieces. But there doesn't seem to be any concrete, explicitly written down goal of we're trying to sort of test a matrix of these things. And so I'm just, does anybody sort of have explicit knowledge of that written down? And if not, you know, do we think it's a good idea to write that down? And then the last question would be, where can I write that down if I were to brainstorm, you know, a proposal of we should be covering X, Y, Z because of QRS, kind of a, again, intention, writing down the intention, so that somebody can come and pick it up.
Can I ask you a question on this? So the test you're talking about covering all of those layers they are the same end-to-end test with those details as essentially as black box testing, or is that a white box testing here?
I'm trying to basically understand, that the existence of a lot of these tests were sort of implicitly dependent on the fact that we were using different images. And so it would be nice to be either explicit about, okay, we're installing Docker version 1 point whatever, Containerd version 1.3, and CRI version this or that. Now maybe we can ignore most of the sort of run C versions and stuff like that, but you know, we've lost coverage because we've reduced the set of images because a bunch of them were failing for months and months and nobody was looking at them. So again, I want to reduce this dependence on tests that just happen to run for a while and then, well, they don't run anymore and we just remove them without really understanding why we were testing them in the first place, right? So one of the goals seems to have been sort of this matrix of covering different runtimes. Is that an explicit goal of the group here, or are we ignoring it? That's my question.
I think my opinion is our testing abstraction should be the upstream OS image. I think it's a fair question to ask if we want to care about each individual dependency within that OS. But I think that might be a little bit, that might be very, very hard for us to track.
It's 10:15.
Sorry, say again?
Sorry, that was just a clock in the background.
Oh, cool. That's a cool clock. You know, like you said, there's different CRI versions, the API, there's different runtime versions and so on. There's different kernel versions, there's different versions of modules within those kernels. So I think it might be a little bit too much for us to both track that and give guidance to end users on what they should use. I think if from our perspective, the abstraction is it runs on, you know, Ubuntu that's built for 1.17 or 1.18, or it runs for costs, certain LTS milestones, that should be sufficient. I think we can internally track what the dependency versions are to help us debug issues. But I think from test coverage perspective, it might be excessive.
Yeah, I want to avoid explosion, but I have to kick back a little in that some of, you know, there's a lot of users out there using Docker still, basically. And the Docker right now is, I believe, is still deployed with Containerd 1.2. And so we're all the way up to container 1.4, and we have that minimal 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 kind of thing to target, plus Docker, the Docker shim involved in there some way. And now we do have the way to pull the Docker shim out and compile without it, but I don't think we're actually testing that right now. And so I guess if we're going to do this, I'd like to either explicitly do it and, yes, constrain it to a minimal set of things. And, yeah, if we can do that by using specific images, I'm all for that, as long as we write it down.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say we want to support, I mean, this actually brings up a separate question of how many Containerd versions or Docker versions do we want to support? Do we want to keep it last 3? Do we want to track whatever's in costs? In which case we lose a little bit of the opinionated aspect within this group. I'm fine with anything, but I think some of the newer cost images have Containerd 1.3. I think cost, Roy might know this, but I think cost 81 is 1.3 and upcoming 85 will be 1.4. So as soon as we pick them up, we should get coverage at least in 1.3 and 1.4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoever's writing stuff down, thank you.
Yeah, but we're still using course 77 and 81, right? Our families. We don't use 83, 84.
There's basically the 83, 84 is mostly just dev. I think now the 81 is LTS, mostly next one is 85. Here I have one question. Morgan, when you talk about like a Docker plus Docker sim, are you talking about the SIG Node Docker, that type? I saw that type looks, is not all the tests are not running for quite a long time. Yeah, you can see all the tab is.
I have a PR to remove that, and I don't know who we're waiting on, but this is a version of the tests like well, the RHEL one's not, but these are uploaded by Docker, and yes, they haven't been updated in a long time, and no results have been uploaded in a long time, and so I have a PR to just totally remove that.
So if we remove that, that means signal does not cover the Docker test?
No, the default still is to run things with Docker. So when you run just the basic, like the PR, I believe, still runs on Docker. The SIG Node master runs on Docker. It's only when you get to the Containerd tabs that Containerd starts becoming involved directly under the CRI. So.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because recently, like Deems has changed the runtime default to Containerd. Yeah, not Docker.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I'd like to see that. Then we need to establish probably a explicitly Docker runtime test to ensure that it's still working.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, especially if the community, even like a cost, I'm not sure. A lot of companies still use Docker, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's my understanding anyway.
Yeah.
Here, I can find that PR for you. Test infra number 17731.
So what is this PR?
To remove the test, the Docker tab, since it doesn't do anything. Anyway.
Cool. Okay.
Do we know the history of this test? This group is Docker community added, or is like a SIG Node added this? Sergey, should we do some research before we totally remove it, or like we think maybe there's another way around we can recover it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's provided by upstream Docker. So if they're not providing test results, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, it was coming at June 9.
Yeah, I missed this. But yeah, I guess we can bring it up tomorrow and get a sign off higher level or more.
Yeah, so a few mergers needed, and yeah, I mean, Roy, I think we just need to comment on like this is Docker needed, and this PR is active for many months now, and if they were worried about it, I don't know who we can include to ask if they really want to revive this test. Do you know anybody? Roy?
Yeah, I'm not sure who has a contact with them. Yeah.
Should we maybe involve SIG conformance? Someone from SIG conformance? Or maybe that's a working group. I'm not sure if it's a SIG or a working group, but someone from conformance group.
Okay, so I think, yeah. Sorry for technical troubles. Yeah, I think we can take it as action item and follow up on this pull request. So either it will be merged or we will find somebody who cares about it enough to fix it. But I think we still need to resolve this question on which runtimes we test on, not on this tab, but all other tabs as well, right?
Yeah, I think this one, from the bug, maybe we check the down to see, maybe she knows the history, right? If like originally they have the connection with like a Docker community they want put it in. Now if they not maintained, maybe we can, after consulting the people, know the history, maybe we can delete it. If no people upstream Docker wouldn't like maintain, even upload the results, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not interested, I think we can remove it. Don't say that it's challenging sometimes to add tabs, but I don't know, like, is it that challenging to add it back if we need to?
Because
Well, this is an external bucket, so it's probably difficult to manage the storage because I don't have access to that. I don't know how to manage that. So that might be difficult from a perspective of managing the infrastructure. And yeah, this PR is actually probably incomplete in terms of going and deleting the bucket. But nobody's putting results from externally into the bucket. So.
Okay, so we have an action item to follow up with as many people as we can to understand what's going on, and hopefully we can resolve it. Yeah. So you also had a question where we can record all the decisions that you're making and like how we structure test. And I think this document from next item was an attempt to make this kind of test tabs or test tags explanation. Do we need another Word doc, or we better keep it in source controlled place? Source
control somewhere, because I happened to find this doing this is it's like a document from like 4 or 5 years ago, and so I happened to stumble upon it. So it's not discoverable, and I would propose we move it somewhere. I guess SIG Node community E2E test MD or something like that. But I was wondering if that's a thing that is like intended to be used first, because basically we tag it's sort of the job sort of half done in that there still exists this orphans job, which literally exists because things are not classified according to that document. So I'm not sure if like we started moving to the document or we didn't, or does it have any force of implementation? So I mean, like, do we need to write up a KEP and put it in a KEP and then move it to our actual documentation? It'd be great to have.
It makes sense. So let's close on where we can document all the information. Do we need to do it in test infra side, or we need to do it on kubernetes.dev, new website for contributors? Which one should be better? Closer to test itself?
I think we should link to it in the tests, but I don't think it belongs in the tests, would be my...
Okay, so on the website somewhere, like kubernetes.dev?
Yeah, if that's part of it, or the markdowns and the SIG community thing.
I think they moving SIG community markdowns to kubernetes.dev some like slowly.
Okay, then that's great. Great. Then yeah. If we've got a place for it, let's put it there. I'm 100% behind that. I'll help. That's great. If that's true, that's great.
Okay. So let's switch to this document. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to close on action items that we have, and now we have a document to discuss. I think for people on this call who haven't read it, just this document describes, I think, the state of the art. I don't know how long ago, but sometimes ago. Yeah, 2018. And at that time, there was an issue. I understand that tests were not categorized well enough and needed to improve categorization. So improved categorization that was proposed is implement not conformance tag, then have not feature and not alpha feature, as well as not special feature for things that is like when not feature and not alpha feature is kind of clear. It's something that hidden under feature flag or argument parameter with specific name, and alpha is to identify that it's not stable yet. And then not special features for things like benchmarking or something that needs special setup. So we can filter them out quite easily and provide a special setup in terms of images or number of VMs and stuff like that. So that was a proposal, and there is more text about it. We also reusing common tags like flaky and serial. Serial to indicate that test cannot run in parallel, and flaky to indicate that the test needs to be worked on. So yeah, I think that was all the proposal, and I really like the structure. Like when I read this document, I finally understood what was the intent of some of those tags. So it's great. I think we need to just move it to someplace official. Yeah, so just an overview. Morgan, do you have the same feeling? You just need to move this?
Yeah, that's basically the feeling. Is I found this and I kind of skimmed it the first time, and then maybe a month later I came back and I read it like top to bottom, and I was like, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense, and I get it now. Now I'm not sure I totally agree with we should be using regex tags to figure out, that makes it a little difficult to figure out what test is running where, but having descriptions for all these things, it is partially written down in the markdown docs, but it's not fully, it doesn't seem feature complete in terms of implementation or description in official documentation. So moving it to, I guess, Kubernetes Dev, I'd be happy to figure out how to do that and help with that. I just don't know. I've never heard of that until right now. So.
And you mentioned we cap. Do we need a cap? I don't think we need a cap to categorize the tests. At least I haven't seen any caps like that before.
I don't want to write down the process and enforce it on everybody without people having a chance to agree to it.
That's fair. So perhaps we can have this document in Markdown and review as big PR. Is it what we may need to do?
Yeah, I'll look into this Kubernetes dev thing, and if not, if I can't figure that out, I'll at least put it where I know there is existing Node E to E tag definitions. So unless somebody else wants to do it, I don't mind. I like documentation. So
I can help you. I love documentation as well. But anybody else? Okay. Yeah, I forgot to add an item here. So what we discussed last time is so this release blogging thingy. Let me find a GitHub issue. Sorry, it may be faster to find it here. Okay. So Morgan, for this issue that we discussed, and like we already have node blocking tab, and this is great. We have a initial tab that we can look at and check whether the node is stable or not. And then we discussed which test to move next. So last meeting, last week on this meeting, we discussed that all tests needs to strive to be there. So we need to try to move as many as possible, but we need to be careful like on what we commit right now on. So my suggestion was to take some tests that seemingly critical and we want to care about them and start moving one by one. And while moving, I also want to make sure that we add in enough description for the test case or like test tab to understand what this test tab intend to test. So we clearly identify like this is what we want to test, and that's why it's moved here. So I wanted to start making this process of moving tests by one, and I was thinking to create an issue for every single test that we have and start assigning to people. So whoever wants to take this can take. Alternative is to just do bulk migration, but I think bulk migration wouldn't work. I mean, we will need to review too many tests and add too many descriptions. What people on the call thinks, like, are we all ready to start taking one by one, like test one by one? Do we need to have example of migration? Like I can probably take first one and show how to migrate, and then we can allocate, like assign issues to other people as well, so we can distribute this effort.
That sounds like a good plan to me.
yeah, I think a proposed movement would be what I would like to see to understand.
Okay, I will put an action item on me to move first test, and then next week we can start allocating, like assigning to more people if there are somebody who wants to take some action item. Okay, we'll have a lot of action items next week to review. Okay, and the last one I wanted to show the statistics, and we can compare it to last week's statistics, 6, 5, 57, 4, 3, 6, 7, 57. Yeah, we improved a little bit on how many PRs merged in Kubernetes area. so in Kubernetes repository. Because of this 1.19 lockdown, some of them was waiting as approved. Now we decrease this number a little bit. So I want to encourage people to start reviewing this pull request. Out of this pull request, out of this 53, few pull requests already approved, but they're waiting for, I think some of them even waiting for LGTM. And some of them are actual test fixes that we may want to take. But they need to have, like, we need to clearly review like what was intention and what do we need it. If you know that PR is not needed, please indicate it somehow, maybe shrug, like the /shrug, so we can review those and propose to close them. If you not feel comfortable to close it yourself, just propose to close it, and then we can review it together and understand. I just want to get down to like small numbers of PRs and issues everywhere, so we can like have an actionable issues list every time to look at. So yeah. Okay. Any questions about PRs and active issues to look at? No. Thank you. Okay, next meeting, US holiday. I think everybody is everybody here in US on the call? Yeah, I think we just need to cancel next week. Any objections?
Makes sense.
Okay. Any other topics today?
Where do these recordings go?
They're supposed to go to YouTube, but Derek needs to press a button. So maybe we can poke him tomorrow to actually press a button.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So we get in 20 minutes back. Thank you everybody for attending. It was nice talking. Bye. Have a good week.